I don't think anybody could fight me if I said that teachers are the most burdened and least paid knowledge workers that we have, and the prospect of bringing AI to education so teachers can actually go back to what they signed up for, which is educating kids and having such a big impact on their lives, is what AI can do. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Tech Beyond the Chalkboard: How Google is Reimagining Education with AI. I am your host, Carolina Milanese. And unless you have been living under a rock, you've heard about AI and how specifically agentic AI is going to not just take over the world as such, but really touch every single business that we are interacting with in our daily lives. And of course, there are people on both sides of the camp, right? There are people that are full of excitement at the prospect that AI brings to business, but also some trepidation on the other side. And if you follow me, not even closely, because I've been quite open about it, I am choosing to be an optimist when it comes to AI and the positive impact that AI can be. I'm excited about how AI can accelerate research discovery in sectors like healthcare, how it can support and really um, push the potential of small businesses. And there's no other segment, vertical perspective, that gets me more excited when I think about AI and the impact than education. And I think that so far, when we're talking about knowledge workers, we've talked about how AI can really take um, the boring part, the tedious tasks away from us as knowledge workers and really let us focus on the things that we enjoy doing and bring more impact to the business and to us as workers. And I think that I don't think anybody could fight me to say if I said that teachers are the most burdened and least paid knowledge workers that we have, and the prospect of bringing AI to education to lessen that burden so teachers can actually go back to what they signed up for, which is educating kids and having such a big impact on their lives, is what AI can do. But there's also a lot of potential on the student side, and that's a conversation that I really want to have today with Tricia Davis-Muffett, who is somebody that TEQ as a podcast is familiar with. She's the senior director of Google Education and Chrome Commercial. She has been focused for most of her careers in really the intersection of technology and businesses and helping whatever vertical that she's supporting really look at the potential that technology can have on their business. And more recently, she has been focused on shaping Google solutions to empower educators and students around the world. Her passion is really helping telling compelling stories that really showcase the potential of a technology on a business. She also happens to be, as I recently discovered, a poet. And in 2022, she was mentioned on the list of the best new poets. So please help me welcome Tricia to the conversation.
Thanks so much, Carolina.
Thank you, and good to see you again. I'm like, I know that it's nothing to do with education, but I'm so stunned that I found out some of your poems and read a few, because I think that nothing more than now calls for that intersection of like technology and humanities, and I'm just thrilled. So anyway.
Well, and actually, the newest news, which is something that's happening in September, is that one of my poems will be included in Best American Poetry 2025. So that's
Congratulations. That's
I have to pinch
amazing.
myself a little bit, but
That's awesome.
yeah. And actually, I did start, my I started my career planning to be an English professor, and I did teach at the university level for a while I was getting my Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, and then when I got my, afterwards, I taught a little bit as an adjunct, so, yeah,
So you go
so
full circle. You going
I did,
from
I went full
yeah.
circle, I'm back to education now, yes.
That's great. Because I mean, there's nothing better, right, than having firsthand experience of the
Yes.
segment that you're trying to impact. And I want to start from that kind of workflow and the impact that you have already had on really helping teachers, plan their lessons and take
Yeah.
away the burden of all the admin side of preparing, for a lesson, for a day in school,
Mhm.
marking homework, and all of that. Because I feel that there's more time spent on that admin side of things than
For
not
sure.
actually teaching the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually I mean, it's one of the joys of bringing this out into the world is, talking to the educators about their experience of using the technology. They're mostly not really, technology early adopters. Are not that interested in tech for tech's sake.
Yep.
But what we have heard from them is this helps me to do the thing that I originally planned to do as an educator. This is why I got into teaching was because I wanted to spend time with students. I wanted to focus on teaching. I wanted to be in the classroom guiding learning. And instead, I spend so much of my time trying to figure out how to comply with various policies, how to make my lessons fit the ever changing standards of my district, how to modify things for all the different learners I have in my class, how to, incorporate new concepts and new things happening in the world into my lessons.
Mm,
All of those things that and then not even that doesn't even take into account, constantly building tests, quizzes, homework assignments, also preparing for meetings with families or IEP meetings or all of that, right? So, and there are so many things that are just constant burdens on teachers that
mm.
really take them away from what got them into the profession to begin with. And so I love hearing from teachers that this is helping them focus on the things that they really want to focus on, the things that are their core skills, their talents, the things that bring them joy about their jobs, and helps to minimize the amount of their personal time, honestly, that they spend on all of this other stuff that is um, we know that teachers don't have a lot of extra time, right? They don't get
Not
much
at
prep
all.
time during the day. Often after the students go home, they have meetings or professional development they have to do. So all of this administrative burden falls into their evenings and weekends. And so it is why people have been leaving the profession in droves, and they're so burned out and exhausted. So bringing some of that joy back and also helping those who have been persevering in the profession to get back to having a life and also doing the thing they love and that they're good at is amazing.
And I think I'm curious if you agree that what is exciting here is not just that is a technology that is actually helpful, is the fact that the learning curve is minimized just because of the nature of
Yeah.
agentic AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been building Gemini into Google Classroom, which is used by so many people across millions of students across the globe, and that really helps. We've made specific things that are useful for education, so it's not just a general chatbot that's built into their experience, but it's actually got specific agentic capabilities to build lesson plans, to build quizzes, practice tests, study guides, all of the things that teachers need to do. And they're right there in classrooms so that they can do it very easily. I mean, I didn't even think until I started talking to teachers about how much effort they have to put in to make wrong answers on quizzes that sound reasonable so that they can create a quiz. Like that is not value added for that teacher to be doing that, right? So using something like Gemini to build the wrong answers into your quiz so that it makes sense for your students is great. And then I mean, also Notebook LM is a fantastic tool that we've now made available
Yep.
to anyone who's got um, Google for Education in their schools, and it was built by an author, actually, like one of the people who was on the core team that created it as an author, Stephen Johnson, the futurist and author, and so he built it thinking about the protection of intellectual property.
Mm.
And so, not only do all of these tools, when you're using them within your education environment, have data protections like any enterprise, even if you're using the free versions in your school, but Notebook LM in particular was built to pay attention to that. So it's got this fairly short context window. So it's only when you're in the notebook are you accessing the things that you've uploaded, so you can upload source materials and you don't have to worry about them leaking out into the internet generally, or violating any kind of intellectual property rules. So yeah, it's incredible. They're, and all these tools are so easy to use. They really are very intuitive. We showed all of this to the teachers of the year from all 50 states when they came to visit us at Mountain View earlier this year. And we got oohs and ahs from the room when we were showing, audible gasps, and how can I get this? Show me where I can find this. So it was amazing to see that, and to see how immediately it's obvious how it was save people time and energy, and just make some of those things that are really a burden on teachers
Yeah,
much
and that's
easier.
not usually the response you get, right? Normally in schools, it's like, "Oh my god, here we go. I need to learn something else
Right.
now." Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
love that you bring up intellectual properties, and because to me that is one of the things that there's such a great need of educating, no pun intended, this sector
Hmm.
and the people thinking about AI in education more broadly, because
Hmm.
there's the current discourse seems to me, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but somewhat lazy, that
Hmm.
oh, students are going to use AI to cheat, and that's bad,
Sure.
right? There's a
Yeah.
bit of that. um and if you talk to anybody, there's the counter of, well, they said the same thing about calculators, and they said the same thing
Hmm.
about computers and the
Hmm.
internet. And but I do think that if we are able to actually use AI to deliver a more personalized approach to education,
Hmm.
because not all students are the same. They don't all learn the same way. They're not
Right.
interested in the same things. And yes, there is a curriculum that you need to follow, and there are grades and whatnot. But the ability to use AI to meet the students where they are,
Hmm.
I think, is liberating for both the teachers and the students. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm excited to see that you just launched guided learning, which seems
Hmm.
to me a way to start teaching students how to ethically use AI to
Yeah.
actually learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I'm the mom of three kids. They're all either in or entering higher ed now. So I've been along on the journey as a parent, also watching this. And so I've certainly seen how it can be very tempting for a student to want to just create their essay or do their homework using AI, but also the way that students often feel that they're selling themselves short and really wasting the opportunity they have if they do that. So I think that students are more evolved and conflicted than we give them credit for. I think
I
that
agree.
students really want to be consuming the information that they are getting, and they want to learn the things that they're trying to learn. They're not just trying to race through their courses. Of course, they're under time pressure and things like that, but um, I think they're looking for tools that will actually help them learn. And well, from the educators we talk to, I know that students often wait too long to ask for help when they're struggling in a
Yep.
class. And that's where we can help, especially if I think about more high school and higher ed, where students are expected to consume a lot of information, and if they start to fall behind, catching that early is important. Where they aren't going to go and ask for extra help necessarily, but they will potentially ask AI to help, like, walk me through this concept. I don't understand it. Or how do I solve this problem? Or, I'm not understanding this piece. Can you take me through it? So that really is where we're trying to fill in with guided learning. And we're very excited about the way that it's coming out. We have uh, the model Gemini for Education, which we have built with lots of input from educators and thinkers in education, and it really is the best model for learning, and that's now infused into Gemini across the board. And then guided learning is really helping to be a tutor for every student, so whether those students are neurodivergent, whether they are just maybe like one of my son signed up for a class with a lot of upperclassmen who were majoring in a subject, and he was not in that subject, and he was a sophomore, and he needed to catch up. So
Mm.
I think about even things like that, where it's like you're a little bit in over your head, but you're very interested in the topic and you need to catch up quickly. So how you can drill yourself, figure out the areas you need to fill in, and be walked through that is really useful, and not something that the professor is necessarily going to help you with if you're in higher ed, right? Or that they have time for. So yeah, and we have a great case study coming out on Miami-Dade where we're talking about meeting especially students who are on IEPs, and English language learners, how it can really help to scale learning and help both the parents and the educators to meet students where they are.
I love that because I think there's also, there's the fact that a teacher has what, 20 to 30 kids in a
Right.
classroom, right? If you're
Yep.
looking at high school.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
so being able to cater to everybody, it is humanly impossible, right? In
Right.
the time that you have.
Yeah.
There's the stigma that the students might have of, I don't want to be seen like I'm not smart, so I'm not going to ask the question when everybody seems to
Right.
be following. But reality
Hmm.
is that most, maybe more students are not actually don't understand, and they're all fearing asking the
Right.
question. Like, and then there's a, okay, I get it, but I want to make it more mine with, examples that I actually
Hmm.
can relate to. So that personalization as well is being proven from tons of research that making a concept relatable helps learning. And I think that that's where AI can come in as well. So really excited and curious about the case study that's coming up.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier the teachers that have come to Mountain View to talk
Hmm.
to you about what is coming and the different products. And I was curious about this because you've been in education for such a long time. And I'm
Hmm.
curious to understand how you bring educators and students into that process of,
Hmm.
thinking about tools and then deploying them.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that. I mean, I do think this is one of our strengths at Google. We have so many former educators on our teams, first of all, who have a deep understanding of education, and we're so excited to have them included because they bring experience and passion, and they engage with our schools and with the educators in the schools in such a deep and meaningful way. We have regular advisory boards where the teachers get in a room and give us feedback on the products that they're using. And we also get feedback regularly from our education partners, from trainers, from all of that. But we also engage directly with students sometimes. So, just on the guided learning that we were just talking about, throughout the development of that guided learning, our team worked with not just educators and pedagogical experts on that and trying to understand what learners needed, but also with students. So we engaged with students as well and asked, what is it that you want in an AI tool to help you learn better? And that feedback that we got from them gave us a clear understanding that students want AI to be a patient personalized guide. So that's really where those insights came from that helped us to develop this. So we love that. And then of course we also regularly test with youth advisory panels before we launch features to students. And we now have a different version of Gemini for users under 18 that has additional content safeguards and AI literacy onboarding materials. And according to Common Sense Media, we're the only major AI platform to build a distinct experience for younger users. And part of that is related to this work that we've done directly with student advisory panels.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned patience because any mother or father of a teenager or teacher knows that you need to have plenty of that.
Yes. I know. I mean, when I started to see this guided learning in action and I watched it acting as a tutor, because you can set it so that it will never give the answer and will just, try to walk the student through. It was like, I was watching, I was like, oh, yeah, those are the things I should have said when I was trying to teach my student how to do, algebra 2, right? As it's going, I know that it's very frustrating, but you're almost there. If you can just let's go on to the next step of this and what do you think needs to happen next. It's sort of it really is a very patient guide.
That's good.
Yes.
So you know me well enough to know that I'm going to bring up equity,
Sure.
because when it comes to education and AI in particular, access to technology is going to be critical. How is Google addressing the digital divide in education and
Yeah.
specifically AI?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, you know that part of our push on Chromebooks to make that was to make it possible for schools to have one-to-one technology available for students by bringing the price down to as low as possible with a device that would perform well. But also, Gemini is actually free of charge. So this data protected highly performative version of the product. So this is not a light version. This is actually the full model. Has all the capabilities. Is actually accessible to educators and students around the world. It's available even with the free version of Google for Education, and so that is now out in the world and available. So that really removes the cost barrier for educators and students so that they can develop critical AI skills that they'll need for the future. But then also, what if they don't have modern devices that can work? So we
Hmm.
also have Chrome OS Flex, which allows you to take a free of charge upgrade to a PC or a Mac that's older that might be aging and not really up to snuff anymore, and give it new life by putting Chrome OS Flex onto the device.
I love that because especially, for students at home, not every school allows you to take technology back with you. And so the ability to, for maybe those communities that are underserved from a technological perspective, having the ability to, give new life to an old
Yeah.
device is absolutely critical.
Right, and we especially see in many schools receive donations of devices, and those devices often, of course, are not the newest version.
Yeah.
But this allows them to take advantage of that and bring that technology to the students and give them everything that they need with the Flex device. So we think very deeply about equity and really bringing technology into the schools and giving secure and reliable devices to everyone and giving the best technology to students, because we don't think that that should be something that's only available to those who have a credit card to buy it at home.
Absolutely. If you're looking at the trends in AI that we're going through and knowing the product that you just launched, what are you most excited about within the kind of education sphere? Because I know that you're excited about a lot of things when it comes
Yeah.
to the impact of AI.
Yeah. I mean, something we've thought about for a long time is how can we help people to learn without limits? And I really like this
Oh, I love
idea
that.
of um of having a tutor for every student, having a TA for every educator, so that you can take the limitations off of what someone can learn, how they can learn it, where they can learn it, when they can learn it, and help the student work at their own pace and achieve whatever they want to do. So, I see it as sort of an army of support for everyone wherever they are in their journey, whether they want to go far beyond what's happening in their classroom or whether they are struggling to keep up. I think this can help sort of on all ends of the spectrum to give opportunities to students so that they can achieve whatever they want.
I never thought about the even just the timing, but then looking at my kid who does their best work between midnight and 4 in the morning because
Right,
they do online school, and so, they're not a morning person.
right,
Obviously, they cannot text their teacher at 3 in the morning. Although they're
right,
very understanding teachers,
right.
the limit is usually 10 o'clock
Yeah,
at night, which is more than most teachers will allow you to anyway. But
right.
yeah, it's
Well, and
little
even
things like
then,
that.
right, they'll say, "Okay, come in for some extra help tomorrow morning." But if your brain is really working at 2 in the morning and you really want to solve this problem, then the next morning at 7 in the morning, you may
It's
not really be, firing on all cylinders
Yep,
to understand. But when you're in the midst of trying to solve the problem, then being able to actually have a tutor that you can ask questions of, that will be infinitely patient with you as you're trying to work through it, can help you break through and actually accomplish the thing right in the moment when you're motivated.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that helps with the momentum, that helps with empowerment, that then
Yeah.
helps with engagement, and yeah, is all like a trickle effect that you're gonna have on the students. Um, I think it was a few years ago that I saw these pictures of the classroom
Mhm.
and showing how the classroom as we know it is the place that has the least amount of change over the years. So if you go back at the beginning of a century, a classroom looks very much like it does today. Where do you see the classroom 10 years from now
Yeah.
because of AI?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I've worked on education for quite some time actually. I mean, I'm relatively new to it at Google, but I've worked on it for more than a decade in different other technology companies. And I've heard the idea of trying to shift from the sage on the stage to the guide at the side for a very long time, but I haven't really seen it happen before, right? And a lot of it is related to all these constraints that we talked
Yeah,
about earlier, about, the pressures on educators, the number of students they have to deal with, all of the different things they have to do. There isn't that opportunity really to bring that guide on the side idea into the classroom. But I really hope that this will help to make teachers more of that guide, so that they can, um, you know, of course, students will still be together in a physical space to participate in learning, but that will change how learning takes place.
yeah.
So that every student, as I mentioned, has an AI tutor to support them both inside and out of school, and greater freedom, and hopefully joy in the way that they're taking in information, and that teachers can actually be mentors and guides now that they've automated all of these mundane, administrative tasks, and they can be confident that their students actually are moving forward and they can help them to understand what to do and how to do it. So then learning will go, beyond just the four walls of the classroom and help students also to have, immersive experiences and connect with classrooms around the world with real-time translation, use technology to explore the physical world. I think there are so many possibilities, and teachers we know are infinitely creative. And so I know that the teachers will help to design those experiences for the students so that they can take advantage of all of this.
I'm excited about this vision because as a parent, I've seen the struggles of, my kid being a little different in the way that they think through problems and how they get bored easily when they given repetitive tasks that are given because the teachers needs time to do other things, right? So
Right.
you get into that busy work that then
Mhm.
becomes annoying for the kids who want to actually stay engaged and learn and the rest of it. And having been a homeschool family as well, not me, because I don't have the patience that you were talking about, but my husband. And he had to spend about 6 months to untrain the way that my kid was taught for so many years,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
actually focus on how you learn and the joy of
Mhm.
learning versus the task. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things that, in my opinion, AI can really help reinvigorate
Yeah.
that passion for learning versus task and tests and memory and quizzes that don't
Yeah.
actually then have practical use in your grown life.
Yeah. That sort of assembly line mentality of
Exactly
education
right.
rather than the sort of, inquisitive, curious, problem solving kind
Yep.
of person that we really need for our current environment and, for all the tasks ahead in the professional world.
Yeah, and how the future of work is actually
Mhm.
gonna be shaped, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are almost at time, but before I let you go, I thought I have some fun with you.
Okay.
And we're gonna play a quick round of myth or fact.
Okay.
So, first one, myth or fact, AI will eventually replace human teachers.
Yeah, I think that one is a myth. But I mean, of course, as we've talked about, I think they can be teaching assistants.
Mhm.
And I think they can help to augment their efforts to reinforce lessons, but there isn't anything that can replace a great teacher. And I think that guidance and mentorship is absolutely critical to learning.
I agree with you 100%. And I think that actually having that aid is taking away a little bit the pressure of knowing all
Hmm.
for the teacher, and actually having the teacher focus more on those life skills
Hmm.
that can help the student learn and then collaborate and all the things,
Hmm.
trouble solving and all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. Myth or fact, students should learn prompt engineering instead of coding.
Well, as somebody who helped to launch a coding program for students in a previous company, and has done a lot of work on the cloud computing side of the world, I think that's a myth because I don't think that it's really either or. I think if you're a technologist, certainly it's if you aspire to be a technologist, it's useful to learn both, right? To understand how to use AI and how to prompt AI to get the best out of it. But I mean, there's real value and joy in taking the time to learn how to code. And I think that it's important to understand how to form a strong prompt also to get the
Yeah.
information you need. So I think of prompt, I mean, I think there's there's sort of hardcore prompt engineering, but honestly, there's more of a prompt literacy that is something that's probably good for everyone to learn, whether you're a technologist or not. But the technologists will really need to think about prompt engineering as just another component of what they need to learn, but not replacing coding.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a it's partly factual depending on where the spectrum of how you see coding
Sure.
and prompting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last one. And we haven't touched on it, and I think is important conversation to have, which is privacy. So, myth or fact? Privacy concerns may slow down AI adoption in schools.
I mean, that's a fact. That is a fact. And I think it's for good reason. You know, privacy is critical for our customers who are in both enterprises and education. Um, and that's important because we think about that and we invest in safeguards and testing to make sure that this is appropriate for, as I mentioned, for the age, but also, that's why we provide, even with the free versions of Google for Education, we provide enterprise grade data protections on everything going on. So nothing that the students are doing, nothing the teachers are building is being used to build any models, to feed any models. It all stays within the confines of that school environment. So it's important for educators and for schools to think about this and to make sure that what's being used in school for schoolwork with their intellectual property is absolutely safe and private and stays within the confines of their environment. Chats with Gemini are not human reviewed, and they're not used to improve our models, no matter what version of Google Workspace for Education you're using. So that is really critical to us, and I'm glad that people are slowing down in schools to think about that, whether they want to use a tool based on how seriously they're taking privacy and security within their environment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, especially when you're thinking about how some of the data can then be used, for to establish funding for schools or looking at students in a certain way. So,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely, 100% important to have transparency around privacy of the tools that you're using.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure to have you on. And as I always say, the podcast is ending, but the conversation needs to continue. So, where can people find you?
Sure. Yes. So they can find us on Facebook at Google for Education. On X, we're at Google for EDU. And then on YouTube, you can find a lot of content at edu at Google. And that's all spelled out edu at Google. That's our handle there.
And personally, do you want to be found?
Sure, of course. You can go to patriciadavismuffett.com and read all my poems if you want.
I will, yes, I encourage people to do so. Um, Thank you very much for being with us, and to all the teachers and students who have been listening. And good luck. The year is just starting, and so best of luck to you all. And hopefully, AI will be at your side for this year and years to come. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.